Hello, good morning, everyone. Uh, can you hear me loud and clear? Can I get a response, please, on chat? And see can able to see my screen as well, right? Okay, perfect. Thanks. Thanks for confirmation. Uh, Thanks everyone again for joining this Sunday morning. I know it's quite like we are sacrificing our Sunday morning for this, but hopefully that is also important. We learned something today, and we'll share our experiences with you. So I would like to thank again the A.P.U management team for the organizing this session with us. So let's start now. The topic of the today would be data analytics. So this is, as we see, this is a webinar, online webinar. So we will try to communicate and interact on the using chat, Zoom platform. So you can chat, you can post your queries there. You can ask also at the end. We will have a Q&A session if you have any queries on the doubts. Okay, a little bit about us. So we are Xaltius. Xaltius is which is a Singapore-based company. So we are mostly technology and data-driven. Most of our expertise lies in terms of towards the data side, be it data engineering, data science, data analytics, big data, cloud computing technologies as well. We provide solutions to industries here on the machine learning platforms, AI, platform we do. In terms of training part, we have conducted 600 plus training sessions across Southeast Asia region. So both online or offline classroom trainings, we do it. All our trainers are from the industry. So we try to solve real business cases. So the real data, that what we get, and then we try to solve questions, queries. So yes, for the today's speakers, my name is Pranjal Dubey, and I am the co-founder of the company Xaltius. Again, most of my experience lies towards the analytics side, be different domains. So we have retail products, finance, educations, and everywhere what I work mostly on the data side. Also, I'm a trainer, corporate data science trainer across the countries. Uh, Today, Aditya will be here with me. So Aditya is again a co-founder of the same company as CTO. He has also all this experience, more than 7 years of experience in data science, computer vision, machine learning, and all the high-end technologies. Also, corporate data science trainer, and he will be covering today the demo part of what is the analytics, what is important on the different tools. We'll see it later. Okay, so we would be glad to, if you want, you can join us on the LinkedIn also. Okay, let's start. So this magic number here, I want to ask you, what is this? What do you think? What this number represent? You can write on the chat. Any wild guesses are welcome. Right? It's a Sunday morning, so you are free. You can, let's see what's all the responses we get. Okay, I got data flow per day, amount of data on internet. Okay. Any more guesses? Unstructured data. Yeah, okay. So I got actually correct answer. We mentioned that it's a data flow per day. Yes. So what is this basically? That is the data that we create every single day. So you see this much amount of data that what we are creating per day. Now you can imagine just how much data we have till now, and that's where the importance and the significance lies. Why we need to have this kind of analytics platform, how to handle this data, how to store this, right? That's why this becomes a concern, I would say, right? Now let's talk about a little bit about what is data. So we all know, right? Data, we see it's a might be a collection of facts. Fact means like numbers, words, which we can, the tangible things that we can count, that we can see, our observations, right? All these kinds of things are called data. Now data can we actually get from different sources on a daily basis. When we do online shopping, when we purchasing, when we post anything on the social media, when we connect with the smart TV data set, the website data what we have, different mobile data we have, right? So there are various sources that what from where we get the data every day. That's what we are generating the data every day, right? Now it can be quantitative as well as qualitative. So it depends. Quantitative means directly we can see, we can count. all those numbers, figures are there. When we talk about qualitative, that means it is talking about the attributes. Like suppose it was great fun, that's again a data, right? Person, someone is happy. This kind of data is also called as, it is also part of data, which is called qualitative data. Now, a quick question for you all. What do you think? Data is same as insight. Is it true or false? You can write on chat. What do you think? The data is same as insight. Okay, true. Others, what do you think? Okay, true. Great list. True, true, true. Okay, great. Anyone for false here? Okay. Any other guesses? Anyone? Okay, Alan is for false. Okay, what about? Okay. So now I got mix of true and false. Yeah. Definitely. So we'll try to solve this basically mystery here. That what is the data? Is it same as insight or not? The answer is here false. Data is not same as insight. Okay. Now we'll see why the data is not same as insight. Okay. Uh, this is the common term. Mostly probably people know data is the new oil, right? It's very common. Many people talked about it, why it is important and what are the things. Now one of the like logic I would say is that if we compare the data with the oil, it is not as same. See, oil is mostly when we get the crude oil, raw oil, it's in a very it's not a clean form, right? All crude oil is not clean. So what we do basically, we first extract the oil, then we refine it, we clean it, we refine it, and then we convert that oil into different products, different chemicals, which is further used in different industries. So then there is a value of oil. Once it is finalized, once we furnished it and to different products, then it's a valuable, more valuable, right? Same thing is with the data also. Data in the raw form, it's the data is very unclean. The raw data, the real data that is coming from the host, from the different system, it's actually unclean data. You can't do anything using that data. What you need to do basically, you need to do a lot of data preparation. You need to clean the data, you need to make structure it, and then you can only use it. You can get insights out of it, right? You can get the hidden meanings, what is inside it. So then it is valuable. So similarly, and that's what at the last stage, once we get the insights from data, then it is valuable. So that's why when I asked you data equals insight, is not the same, because the data initially is the raw form, it's unclean data. And insight is once you do a lot of data preparation, which takes about almost 80% of our time, right? And then after that we get an insight. So that insight is what is valuable for any firm. So that's why it's not same. Okay. So all the companies, all the major companies, if you see, they are now more valuable. They are actually, for if they have the data, they are more valuable. It's very simple. So this is a comment down, world's most valuable resources is no longer oil but the data itself, right? Okay, so now we will see what is data science. When we talk about the data, we talk about the preparation and different steps. What is all there? So there's a term called data science. Everywhere we now we hear. So it's kind of umbrella where we have a lot of things we do, right? We do analysis, we structure it, we build some certain algorithms. The process oriented should be there. We write different programming languages, try to solve any business problems. We try to spread again the knowledge and the insights. That's what always everything comes under data science, right? So in a layman term, what is this? It is just the study of how to make data driven decisions, right? So when we are using the data and we uh, try to act on it, act on some certain process using the data, the whole process is called data science. Next, if you see about what is the today's topic is mostly on the analytics and the visualization. Okay, so first of all, see, what is analytics, right? What is data analytics? So it is the discovery, interpretation and communication of uh, meaningful patterns. Now again, it's a simple, again, if you talk about in a simple language, what is data analytics is basically when we try to analyze the data, when we try to do anything on the raw data to get meaningful insights, to get the value of that, right? Get out of the value what is inside it. That's what we call all the everything. The process is called basically analytics, right? So there are many techniques, there are many tools which we use to do our data analytics process. Okay, so if you see this graph, how what it is saying that how data analytics, how what is the capability of the data analytics, how it helps us. So initially starting from the raw data, once we clean it, once we try to make different reports, ad hoc reports, all this helped us to identify, suppose what happened. So once something happened, then we basically analyze the data and this and see what happened, right? Next step is why did it happen. So we then we try to find out the root cause, that why did it happen. So moving from what to why. Then what will happen, we are predicting the thing, right? We are doing the predictive analysis that okay, something has happened, so tomorrow what will happen, right? This kind of predictive analytics. Tomorrow, today weather is this, based on the historical data, what will be the weather tomorrow, right? All this kind of predictive analysis we do. So what will happen at the next stage is, again, next level is what is the best that could happen. That means we are recommending, we are optimizing the things, and this is what is there is the need, right? We are optimizing our customers that okay, this is the best product for you, right? So based on again the data, we are recommending something. That's how the maturity of analytics capabilities goes, right? Now next is our visualization. So it's very simple term, data visualization. It's just that how we are going to present our raw data, which is in Excel form, CSV form, or in any other form, into a pictorial graphical representation, right? Why? Again, it is easy to see the things visually, right? uh, and it is easy to remember as well. So that is how data visualization things thing is there. Now a term called visual analytics. Now I want to focus on what is this basically. So it is simple. It helps people see and understand their data more clearly, right? Now I'll ask you a question. Please, let's see who gives me the correct answer first. How many nines are there in this data? Can you count and write on the chat? How many nines you can see? Okay, 5 I got. 11, okay, great. 8, okay, 8. See, strange, someone got 11 also. Some 9, 5. So valid. See, you are we are 40 people here in the session, and we will got different errors. Yeah, definitely, you, Jonathan, it's a human errors we can see. um, so okay, Jack, yeah, that's a sharp thing. Yes. So basically, in the data set, if you ask, you got so many answers. Okay, probably you might took 4, 5, 6 seconds, right, to do that. Again, I will ask you the same question. Now tell me, how many nines are there? It's the same data set. Okay, now I'm pretty sure this time you will count in very, very short time, right? It's very short time you will get you can count this month as compared to the previous one. And this is how your visual system works, right? What I did, I just represented the data in a different way. I didn't do anything else. The same data, I just presented in a different way. That's what I say. When we present it, when you do in different pictorial form or different graphical form, when you present the raw data, it makes more meaningful. It is easy to analyze. It's easy to calculate the things. Now that's how the visual system is. So if you talk about the visualization types, similarly, we have so many graphs, so many in different tools to analyze the data, to present in a different way. Now, if you want to talk about, if you want to compare some things, we have different kind of bar charts, column charts, all these line charts are there to compare the data. If you want to distributions, you have the histogram, scatter chart, and all those things. Compositions, we have different pie charts, stack area chart, all these level of charts are there. Similarly for the relationship. Now the point here is what I'm trying to focus is in all the data visualization tools, you will get all these kind of graphs. But the main important part is based on your data, based on your data set, what you have, you need to figure it out for your data, which graph is the best, which graph is the most suitable, right? Which can represent your data very clearly. That's what our focus should be. Now, a quick question again. Which type of visualization we should never be used in business setting? That means we should avoid using which of the visualization? Is it bar chart, line chart, pie chart, or 3D chart? Okay, got line chart, pie chart, line chart. Okay, avoid pie at all cost. Okay, 3D, most of are for 3D chart. Okay, uh, again, okay, great, got it. So the thing here is, if you literally, if you see when we present anything to our management team or to to whatever, in any dashboard, whatever we are presenting, you usually, what we do is bar chart is very commonly used, to get the comparison things. Even same for the line chart as well. Pie chart is again for the distribution. 3D chart is something that is very fancy, and it is, we shouldn't use as basically, right? So I will show you why 3D chart is not something that we should use whenever we are presenting, right? So the answer, correct answer is here is 3D chart. We should avoid 3D chart, right? I will show you some visualization. You need to tell me whether you like the visualization or not. Means whether it is a good visualization or bad visualization. This what we call as dashboard. At first glance, what do you think? Is this a good visualization to represent or bad? Okay, great. Yeah, so it's a good visualization, because the reasons, again, if you just point out certain things, the on the top you can see a lot of some KPIs are there, so it's very clearly visible, right, with the numbers. All the different charts, the different graphs it is showing, it is uses a variety of charts here. If you see the donut, the map, the line, the column chart, everything, the area chart is there, the dials are there, everything is very clean, very properly aligned, a good combination of the colors. So I would say this one is a nice visualization to represent, right? So that's what we should do. Now, definitely we shouldn't use something like this. It's again a pie chart. I mentioned pie chart is very commonly used, but again, as I told, you need to see based on your data set also. This pie chart is showing 100 most active quitters. Now, if you want to put 100 categories in this pie chart, it will look like this. So definitely pie chart is very commonly used, but only when your categories are very less, 2, 3, 5, 10, that's max. We shouldn't go beyond that. If you want beyond that, then you can go switch to the another charts, right? So basically you should avoid, when you have a lot of data, then you should avoid the pie chart. So again, it's your decision. Similarly, this one, this is what we call 3D chart. And that's why 3D chart we should avoid. I'm not sure whether you can get anything out of it, but I'm not able to understand basically what does this represent, right? This is a data, certain things it is showing. So that's how you need to again see based on your data which graph is best, right? To plot. This one again, example of a dashboard. Is it good or bad? Okay, what about others? Yes, definitely. It's a too cluttered, right? It's I mean, it's a lot of things are there, very, very congested. If you see a lot of text, images, which we don't need. So the point is again, if the color combination, if you see also, it's a very contrast colors are used. So again, it's a dashboard, but we should avoid doing something like this, right? So it depends that how we are, what the data again is there and what is the best way to represent. So this is again a bad representation. Now I talk about a little bit about the insights. What does insights mean? So insight, as I mentioned earlier, when we use the raw data, we analyze it, we observe it, and then we get some insights out of it. And then why that is important? Because using that insights, we take any actions. to do our business operations. We can even change our business process using those insights. A very beautiful example is what everyone uses here, Netflix. I'm pretty sure now lockdown, COVID is there. Everyone, we use a lot of time, spend a lot of time on our Netflix, watching series, watching movies and all. So that was a finding earlier when Netflix started, that the customers, they are not watching the entire video, right? They just watch 90 to 95%. This was a finding. This was a fact that what Netflix observed. Now the insight that we analyzed, and then the insight that they get is they are not watching the title role and the end credits, which is true. If you remember, if you just think, we actually, when we watch any series, we usually skip the title role and the end credits also. We always try to go to next episode, right? This is what we do. Now, then there was a recommendation that can we introduce something called skip intro at the beginning, so that we will just skip the intro part, and also the watch next at the beginning of the end credit, so that you can just watch to move to the next episode, like. And then using this, they benchmark the 90 to 90% watched content as completed. This means they change the business operations, so they change the business logic, business process, right? That okay, if the 90 to 95% they are watching, that means just mark it as complete. So that was the example of how you can get the, using the data, you get an insight and you act on it, right? That's a recommendation. So if you see, this is what we usually do, the skip intro part and the next episode, what we do in any Netflix, right? So again, a very nice example of the data, how you use the data, right? Now, be it any industry, I would say every company is using the data to solve their business cases, to solve their to do their business operations. So suppose if you talk about the travel or marketing, healthcare, social media, sales, automation, banking, credit, finance, everywhere we use the data to do different things, to predict something, to recommend best thing to your customer, to solve our business problems, right? This is example. So see, data is something that is not bounded by any domain, not bounded by any similarly, analytics is something that is every company is using, right, to enhance their process, to make more efficient. Now Steve Jobs said that it's not the customer's job to know what they want. And that is very, very true, because right now, with the help of analytics, when we are predicting something and when we are recommending something to customer, that means we already know what customer wants, right? So suppose based on their transaction history, we can decide that, okay, what is the next thing that, and when the customer will buy anything, right? So before customer won't even, actually, we know that, okay, what customer is looking for. And that's how it's very truly said that it's not the customer's job to know that what they want, rather the companies should know that what is customer looking for. This is a Gartner chart. So Gartner chart is something, it's a very it's a third party basically vendor who talk about the analytics and different areas. I mean, no one everyone the data is basically true, so no one can buy Gartner. And what is represents, it compares all the different firms in different areas, right? So this is a graph showing chart basically showing a leader in analytics and BI platform. So if you see on the right side, by the way, this is a recent one, the January 2020 report is there. So on the right side, on the top right leaders, if you see, there is Microsoft and Tableau. So Microsoft is basically Microsoft Power BI, and Tableau is already, we know, this is a Tableau platform, right? So this is, as again, there are two BI platforms which are who are leaders, and next comes to Click and other things are there. Now Excel also comes under Microsoft. So we have all these things. So what we will do today is basically we will see what this Power BI is, what is this Tableau, and how you can do certain things on these two. Also we'll use some Excel as well. And so everything will be demo. And for that, I would like my colleague Aditya to take over from here, and he will represent you. Okay, Aditya, over to you.
Okay, awesome, thanks. Okay, so Pranjal was talking about how you can essentially use or do analytics, right? And he talked about what analytics is, what is the data life cycle, if you want to call it, to basically enable analytics. Now, he showed you that the Gartner chart had two leaders on the top, Microsoft and Tableau. And Microsoft consists of Microsoft Excel and Power BI. Tableau is a standalone vendor now under Salesforce, um, bringing their own BI tool into the market. So we're going to see all these three tools today in terms of just trying to understand, and then we'll be seeing demos on Power BI and Tableau. And let's first see what those three are. Let's try to understand a little bit about them before we go into the demos of each and every one of them. So just before I move forward again, I just want to make sure everybody can see my presentation, right? Is there anybody who cannot see my presentation? Can everybody see my presentation? Yeah? Okay. Thank you so much. So the first tool is Microsoft Excel, and we're talking from an academic moving into a corporate world, or just in general about what kind of tools are being used. Now, Excel is something which everybody knows. Everybody's heard about it, and it's one of the most powerful tools out there to do a lot of things. So it's very analytics friendly. You can do a lot of things. You use it to store your data. You use it to do certain calculations. You can also use it to do analytics. To understand what my data is telling me. You can do a lot of other things. We're not going to go into the details of each and every one of them, but there are a bunch of other things you can do with Excel. So, Excel's capability is unparalleled. It has a lot of capability. A lot of people underestimate the power of Excel, but trust me, Excel is a tool which, from an overall perspective, has a lot of value. Now, a Power BI was a tool introduced a few years back as one of those tools which was growing exponentially fast and took over the business intelligence part which Excel had earlier. And when I say business intelligence, I'm talking about things like visualization and analytics, and how can we do that faster? Because today one of the most important concerns is how can we do something fast. So Power BI kind of brought about that capability. Now the best part about Power BI, like Excel, is Power BI can take in data from multiple sources. Um, it can be data sitting on an Excel sheet. It can be data somewhere else, on the cloud, and it can use all this data, do a bunch of things on the data like insights and analytics, visualizations. It can apply different techniques. You can build a beautiful report, and at the end of the day, you can consume this in different forms. You can either share it with people. You can have the report on different applications. You can have it on different other automation platforms and so on. Now you would be seeing in today's times all of these reports on the news, online, talking about COVID-19, talking about a bunch of other things which happen, and some of those reports could have been built on Power BI because it's one of those tools which is quite powerful in the market today. Now, Power BI brings about the capability for you to access your data from multiple data sources, to clean and match your data. And this is where, what Pranjal talked about initially in terms of the data lifecycle, all comes back when we see it from the perspective of the tool. Then you explore your data, so you can put up different visuals, and I'll be showing you some of this. You visualize your data, try to gather some insights out of that. And at the end of the day, you bring your story to life, right? It's all about how you're conveying your message at the end of the day. And that kind of is where you share and collaborate your findings, your reports with all your peers and other colleagues in the organization. Now, the best part about Power BI is it brings together a lot of power. That's why it's called Power BI. It's a lot of power. And you can do a bunch of things, right? From real-time dashboards, you can incorporate some part of natural language. I'll be showing you some, tiny bits and pieces there. It fits well with Excel and tools like Excel. You can have a lot of custom visualizations, and then since it's from Microsoft, you have a lot of support, right? And that's what a lot of people value also at the end of the day, a lot of support. So that's the capability of Power BI, and we'll be looking into how that can be brought about. Now, similarly, there's another tool called Tableau, and Tableau is now under Salesforce. It started off being one of the leaders. It started off by being the leader in the Gartner quadrant some time back. Now it's been pushed down because other tools have started to make more innovation happen. Now, Tableau is also a data visualization, reporting, or business intelligence tool, which has capabilities of translating data into reports, dashboards, and visuals. And it's used quite often. And a lot of organizations use Tableau to do its visualizations as well. Now, it's also a tool similar to Power BI. You'll see the differences of capability, speed, when we do both of them, when I show you a glimpse of how, Power BI works, how Tableau works, and what are the differences between both. A lot of people still value Tableau. It's really powerful, and you can do certain things on Tableau which cannot be done on Power BI, right? And you can do certain things on Power BI which cannot be done on Tableau. So depending on the needs of the organization, people choose differently. Right? We talk about some of the differences and all later on. Now, in any of the tools, you're going to follow something called the visual analysis lifecycle. It's similar to the data lifecycle, wherein you would essentially take in some data, you would go through a process of being able to visualize the data. So if it's a tool like Tableau, you would use Tableau to do it. Then you would understand your visuals, which is called the analysis process here. Then you would go on to take some decisions and translate that to action. So similar to the Netflix example, which was shown to you a few minutes ago. The Netflix example is a classical example of how some information was translated into valuable actions and decisions, and you see it all around you today in any of the movies you see, in any of the series you watch on Netflix. And it has created an impact, and that's the main goal here, because you see there is a lot of gap between actions and impact as compared to some of the other things. The reason primarily also being that impact comes after some time, right? And it happens only if you've taken the action. If you have not taken the action, you cannot reach impact. So make sure that at the end of the day, whatever you're doing has an impact. Right? That's the main goal. Now we'll be seeing a demo of Power BI and Tableau in particular, in terms of the tools itself. And what are we going to see? We're going to see some sample data. We're going to understand from the sample data a few things. We'll be going through this as we walk through the different tools. Right? So we'll be walking through some sales data so that everybody understands the data, everybody understands what it's all about, and we'll be seeing a few things. So I'll show you what those things are going to be. Now, just to give you a rough comparison of what the end results on each of the different tools would be like, think of it something like this, okay, from a very raw example-ish perspective, that this is what Microsoft Excel can produce at the end of the day, something like this. Now, it might look good, but it takes quite a fair bit of time to get to this point. Power BI can do something like this, where you essentially have a few things put up, and the turnaround time is very fast. So we're going to build something like this in 15 minutes. Now, similarly, Tableau also has the capability to build up something. You could build up something like this, in around 15-20 minutes, but you would obviously see that there is a difference between how Power BI looks versus how Tableau looks, meaning that you're going to spend a little more time on Tableau to make it look better. So let's go ahead and let's see how each of these tools can visualize the data. We'll start off with Power BI. Then we go to Tableau, and we'll spend about 15 minutes on each of them. And then at the end, we will take any questions from each and every one of you. So let's go through that and let's see how we can essentially bring that up. So let me bring up my Power BI first of all. We'll walk through what the data consists of. We'll walk through how we can essentially build up something from this data, right? So when you open up Power BI, okay, Power BI again is a Microsoft tool, so it's free to use for everybody. It has a desktop version, so everybody on a Windows platform can use the desktop version, right? I'm sorry, for all the Mac users out there, there's no desktop version for the Mac, right? So if you have a Mac, go to your friend's house who has a Windows. Right? That's how you can use it. Now, the Power BI interface is very intuitive. It's kind of self-explanatory. You can actually kind of go through the interface yourself. You'll get a very quick understanding of what what the tool is telling you, what it's about. So the data which we have essentially is a sales data, as I was saying earlier, and the sales data essentially has a few things. I'll just show you what data has really, really quickly first. Just give me a minute. So the data has something like this. Okay, this is the data we have. It has certain orders, like a typical sales cycle. It has things like when the order was placed, when the order was shipped out to the customer, uh, who the customers are, what are their names, where are they from, where was the order placed from, and other things such as what are the products that were ordered during that transaction, and further what was the sales and the profit values of each of those transactions. So the typical sales kind of data where you have orders, you have customers, you have products, you have sales and profit. And we're going to see how we can use each one of these to build up some reports and visuals telling us, giving us some valuable information. Now, into Power BI, you can get in any form of data using this, get data button on the top here. So the get data button on the top allows you to access over 100 different data sources. And that's one of the best parts about Power BI. You can, access data from files. You can access data from different kind of files, like text files, CSV files, Excel files, PDFs, and so on. You can access data from multiple different databases. So it could be SQL servers, it could be IBM databases, it could be MySQL, and so on. There's a whole bunch here. You could access data from online services and cloud services. So things like Microsoft Azure, other services include AWS, Dynamics, so on and so forth. So you have a bunch of over 100 different sources from where you can get the data. So depending on your organization, depending on what kind of data store your organization is using, you can typically choose that. Now, what we have done is we have imported a CSV file because, as I showed you earlier, this is the data we have. This is placed inside a CSV file. We want to get this into Power BI. Hence, we have chosen a CSV file and we've loaded the data into Power BI. Now, how do I know I've loaded the data into Power BI? You will notice on your right-hand side, if you see that all the different columns of my data have essentially been, shown here for me, right? So you see the data set is called Global Superstore. You have a bunch of columns under that, your products, your customers, your orders, and so on. So this is how you know, okay, my data is coming here to Power BI, and I can start using my data. Now, the fields area essentially tells you that. Now, besides that, you have a visualizations area, which is essentially where we're going to choose the visualizations we want. And the white space here is essentially your canvas, right? If you're a painter on a canvas, you're going to paint. If you're a data analyst on a canvas, you're going to put some data, right? So that's kind of where, the difference between an artist and a data analyst is. Both of them are artists at the end of the day. You're going to make art with data. An artist is going to make art with paint. So let's go ahead and see how we can, kind of build up what I showed you on the slides earlier, and in a fairly quick amount of time. Now, one of the most, essential things whenever somebody wants to visualize something is understanding the numbers, big and clear. And that's one of the most important things. And let's say I'm a sales organization. What I typically want to see is what is my total sales and profit been since the time I've started. Okay, what is my total sales and profit been since the time I've started? And that's kind of the most one of the most valuable pieces of information for me. So let's see how we can, as an analyst, bring that up on Power BI and show that, uh, let's say, to a manager. So it's very simple in Power BI to be able to do visualizations. How do I do it? Now, depending on what you want, you can just drag the respective, column of data onto the canvas. So for example, let's say I want to see my total sales, and then I want to see my total profit of my organization. So from the right hand side, I'm going to drag my sales onto the canvas, right? Something like this. So I've just selected my sales. I'm going to drag it onto the canvas here, and what that does is that kind of puts up, okay, one form of visual. This is what Power BI kind of thinks it could be a good visual. Now we can change the visual to whatever we want. So let's say I want to see this in the form of big numbers. Then what I'm going to do is I can just select any one of the required visualizations to change it. So I'm going to select something called a card visual. It's something which can essentially give me numbers in big. Right? So card visual is here. So basically you can see a big 1, 2, 3 written on the visual. That is essentially a card visual. And what this does is this kind of gives you the number in big and bold. And basically it tells you that, okay, I have $12.64 million of sales. Now, using the formatting pane, you can format this particular value or format this particular card visual into something which has more appeal. So you can have a border, you can change the colors and so on. I'm not going to go into the details of each and every visual, each and every formatting option, but from the formatting pane here, you can essentially do that. So let's say we want to add a simple border. I can just add a simple border here, and I can say my border, let's say my border radius is around 8 pixels or 9 pixels. And what that will do is that will get me a border with a kind of curved radius on the top. I can take this value here and I can put this up on the screen somewhere about here. I'm going to start placing some of the stuff we do. Now, similarly, if I want to get profit, you're going to follow the same method, right? You're going to drag profit onto your screen. Then from the visualizations pane, you're going to change the visual to be a card visual. And then you can format it, let's say, to match what the sales looks like. So let's say I have a border with 9 pixel radius border. So you have something which looks like sales and tells you, okay, I have from $12.6 million of sales, I have $1.4 million of profit. I can kind of put them here together and I can align them. Now they sit side by side, big numbers on your screen. And these are what we call metrics, right? So we say, okay, what are the main metrics we have? We have the total sales and the total profits. Those are the metrics which we are looking at. Now, one of the most critical things of any organization is to see how things have changed over the years. Because if I don't know how things have changed over the years, then it kind of becomes very, very difficult for me to see how I can improve, to see in the future whether there's any scope of improvement or not. So this is where we put up something called a sales trend, meaning, okay, what has been the trend of my sales for the past few years? Now, a sales trend requires two basic values. One is your sales, and the other one is time or date. And this is how you can get a trend. So because I've said that, I'm going to basically use a couple of those fields here. So the first thing I need is my sales. So I'm going to drag sales onto my report. And the second thing which I need is a time-based field or a date-based field. And in my data, I have something called as order date, which I'm going to essentially drag onto the same visual here. And what this does is it now puts the sales and the order date together and tries to give me some form of visual. Now, for me, I'd like to visualize, something like this on a line chart, because that's kind of the standard practice of how you visualize some trend. So I can change this just by clicking on this. I can change this to a line chart, and I'll let's say I place it here for the time being. We can kind of change this later on. Let's say I place this here. And now this line chart is telling me that, okay, over the years, your sales has kind of grown, right? From 2011, it's kind of grown up to 2014, which is till where I have my sales. Now, let's say you're not happy with visualizing it from a year perspective. You want to see, okay, how is my sales moving month over month, right? So using some of the drill down arrow keys on the top of the visual here, where you see you see this down arrow, you see this up arrow, and you see two arrows here. You can essentially kind of drill down into the different levels, right? Let's say you want to see it by quarters, or you want to see it by months, or you even want to see it by different days of the months. So how the sales are across the different days. If there's constant sales, is there something which is moving across the days of the month, and so on. And depending on who you're showing what you want to show, you can essentially manipulate this. And if you click the the branched arrows here, it's going to essentially show you a month with a year kind of view, and you can essentially see that now basically telling you that, okay, over the years my sales have gradually increased, probably not too much, but there is some typical pattern followed here. So if you see at the end of the year, generally there is a rise in sales, and then it kind of dips towards the start of the year and then goes up again through the year. And that's kind of the trend being followed every year. Now, one of the most important questions which somebody tends to ask you is, can you tell me what is my sales for the next couple of years? And I mean, that's not a very easy question to answer, right? What is my sales for the next couple of years? Now, this is what we call a forecast of my sales, or me trying to project my sales for the next few years. Now, typically doing this on very primitive tools, it's kind of difficult. Within Power BI gives you the capability to do certain things like a forecast. So essentially, if you click on the visual itself, and if you see beside your formatting option here, you have something known as analytics, right? And Pranjal talked about analytics some time back. So analytics allows you to put up some of these things like a forecast, things like how is my sales trending. So let's say I want to put up a forecast, okay? So I just select forecast and I say I want to add a forecast. Let's say I want to add a forecast for, let's say 6, and I can select what I want here. Let's say 6 months, for example. Right? I don't want to look too far out because it might be unrealistic. I can probably look 6 months out, and then I can say apply. And what that does for me is, if you see your chart now, it brings up another line here of a different color, which is essentially telling me, okay, this is how it looks like the next few months of my sales are going to be like. So there's going to be a slight dip, and then it's going to go up, and that's how it's going to kind of be. Now, this is very valuable for me because I can plan accordingly. I know what my sales are going to be like, and so on. Now, on the same visual, I can add something called data labels, which will essentially help me visualize the values right on the chart itself. So now I can see what are my latest sales. I can see where I started. So I started with just $0.3 million of sales. Today I'm sitting at about $1.3 million of sales. So things have changed over a period of time. That's important for any organization to see. Okay, fair enough. So far, so good. Now, being a data analyst and dealing with global sales, one of the main things which any analyst sees or wants to see is how are things going across different countries. Can I look at different countries? And I want to look at my sales, I want to look at my profit. I want to be able to see this for all my different countries. So let's try to put that up. Let's try to put up something which tells me or gives me that information, right? So in our data, we can we can use three things. One is the country, one is the sales, and one is the profit. So let's try to use all these three and kind of see what we can easily put up on the canvas. So let's start off by taking in country, which is on the top here. And the moment I put my country, you see that it comes up as a map. But probably I don't want to see a map view just yet. Okay. I want to see something more in the form of let's say a table. Okay. Table is more easy for me to see. Now, in this particular table, I want to add things like my sales, and I also want to add things like my profit. So I can essentially choose whatever I want, and I can have that on my visual, and I can then place my visual wherever I want. Right. So let's say I want to kind of resize my visual first a little bit to kind of match the placement of the other visuals, and then I can just move it around a little bit here and there. Right. Let's say I move it here. I want to add a border to this as well. Let's add a simple border to this and kind of match some of the others. So now I have a visual which actually can tell me, okay, what are the sales and the profits of different countries, right? Well, that's very convenient for me, and because now I can, basically click on the arrows here. If I want to essentially sort in a particular order, if I want to sort by sales, I can just click on the arrow under sales. It will sort by sales. If I want to sort by profit, I can just click on the arrow under profit. It's going to sort by profit. Easy for me to see, okay, what are the sales of different countries. So US contributed to maximum sales, China, India following close behind. Not very close, but they're behind the US. So something like that gives a regional analyst or gives a data analyst a holistic view of the data itself. Now, let's say I want to do a map, okay, because a table is fine, but can I do a map to see something more specific from a geographic perspective? And I'm specifically interested to do profit on the map. Like, I don't want to see anything else. I want to just see my profit on the map. So I can do that as well. So how do I do that? I can just bring up my country again, okay? And I can bring up my profit, and you will see that the map basically explodes, or the sizes on the map explodes based on the profit which you have. So the more the profit you have, the bigger the bubble you have on the map. And this kind of map is basically called a symbol map, where we have these bubbles indicating what are the sales or what are the profits. You can zoom in and zoom out of the map to kind of zero down on any particular region you want to see, and that gives you a little more insight into, okay, hey, these are the different profits. In this region, it looks like Germany has more profit as compared to some of the other countries around here, and so on. So the bubble automatically scales based on the range of data you have. So if your profits are negative or positive, it will create a range of that data, and the size of the bubbles accordingly. So the negative ones would have the smallest sizes compared to positive ones. So I mean, that's kind of about it. And also what you can do is you can customize it according to how you want it. So if there's something negative, you can say it's in a red color. If it's something positive, you can say it's in a blue or green color. So these are certain things you can do once you start diving into the tool a little bit more, right? And now, again, the best part about Power BI is having the ability to customize your visuals and adding more parameters to this. So for example, let's say if you're not happy with only the profit being on this chart, and you want to kind of distribute the profit across something else, then you can do that. You can add another parameter to this, and you can visualize that. So let's say, for example, in my data I have something called the shipping mode. The shipping mode basically tells me what kind of mode I've opted for. Is it like an express shipping? Is it standard delivery? Something of that sort. and I want to see where more profit comes in, you can add that to the chart as well. Right? So for example, if I take my ship mode and I put it, let's say, in the legend part of my chart, you will notice that there is a distribution, or there's a pie distribution of that bubble on the chart itself. So basically now your entire data is divided by the ship modes, right? So these are certain things you can do on Power BI which are very difficult to do on some of the other tools. It's not very straightforward to do something like this, right? So this is something I can, let's say, place somewhere here on my right hand side, and that tells me the profit by country and ship mode, right? And let's say the last visual I want to place on this report, because if you remember, one of the things Pranjal mentioned earlier was don't clutter your report. Right? If you put too many things on it, it's going to be difficult for people to see. So let's say I'm interested in seeing what are the sales by different product categories, because that's important, right? Because if I'm in an organization, I need to be able to see, is my sales selling in one category versus the other category? How does that look like? Right? So I can take my category, I can put my sales, and I can say I want like a donut chart for this, for example. So I can click on my donut visual, and I get a simple donut chart, really put up with a beautiful legend, each category being represented by a color, telling me that the technology category like mobile phones, computers, have sold the highest, whereas categories like office supplies and furniture have sold a little less as compared to some of those. Now this is fine, but the best part about Power BI in general is the fact that from the get-go it's interactive, right? So what do I mean by from the get-go it's interactive? It means that anywhere I click on the chart, okay, all the other visuals will interact with respect to what I click. For example, let's say I click on the United States on my table here. Right? Let's say I click on the United States. Now, you will notice that all the different visuals which I have now changed, and the numbers have changed, the representation has changed. Now, all of them basically are with respect to the United States. So it basically tells United States has $2.3 million of sales with a 286K of profit with a sales trend like this. And now these are the values of the different categories. So similarly, I can click on other countries and you can see some of the same things for the other countries as well here, right? So this is basically how Power BI becomes interactive. Now, not only is the country interactive, but you can actually click on the category itself. So for example, I click on technology here, everything changes with respect to technology. If I click on furniture here or office supplies, everything changes with respect to that. So it's very easy to interact within the Power BI environment, right? And you can, when you're presenting to your managers and they ask you, okay, hey, can you tell me more specifics about a certain thing, like a country or a technology or something of that sort? It's easy to do that, and you can essentially do that right off the bat here. And nothing is ever complete without adding a title to the chart. So we can go ahead and insert something like a text box, where we can essentially uh, type in a title for this chart. So let's say this is called a sales analytics report, for example. Pardon my spelling there. So I can have the sales analytics report. I can say it's now 24. Maybe I can extend it all the way center and so on, right? So basically now this kind of completes my report, and because I have all the visuals I want, I have all the charts which I need. Everything is there, they're neatly placed, and the best part again is that it was very quick. Right? It took us about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to kind of build up something like this, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Right? There are a lot more things you can do, a lot more different visuals which you can essentially put up. Now, all the visuals are here, and apart from that, you have something called the marketplace, where you can essentially import your visuals. If you use this get more visuals, it takes you to a marketplace where people have put up different visuals, custom visuals, which you can kind of bring up as well. So this is the speed at which Power BI can function, right? So once you have your data in hand, Power BI can function really, really fast to bring you, to a visual which is quick, and a report which is easy to see, not very cluttered in nature. If your manager tells you, okay, hey, can you build up something in 30 minutes? You can, right? It's that, that fast. All you got to decide is what are you going to build, and that essentially will do that. Now, there are certain features on Power BI which are interesting, which are kind of fun, uh, which you can essentially see as well. So I'm just going to bring up a blank canvas here. And one of them is, something called the Q&A feature. So if you, look at the top here, I have something called Q&A. The Q&A feature basically, makes use of the text processing or natural language query part, which I talked about on the presentation. So let's say you have your report, okay, but let's say a manager asks you something very specific, right? Let's say the manager asks you, can you tell me what is my sales for, a particular year? Or your manager asks you what is the sales by ship mode, and you don't have these visuals. What do? Right? You say, okay, wait, don't worry. I'm just going to bring it up really, really quick. And you're going to say, what is the sales by ship mode, right? And Power BI is going to basically take your question. It's going to try to understand what you've typed, convert your question into a visual, and show that to you. So you can essentially see the visual here. And it shows you that, okay, I have different ship modes, like standard class, second class, first class. It puts up the visual for you. You have the sales there, and you can tell them a standard class has the most sales, and the least sales are for people who have opted for same day delivery. He says, can you show this to me as a pie chart? I don't kind of like how the bar chart looks. So, okay, fine. Say, I want to put this as a pie chart, and it brings you a pie chart. So here you go. So this is something which kind of supplements or complements your report. It helps you bring up something which you don't have really, really fast. And this is to be used whenever there are these questions which come up on the fly. So it's easy for you to kind of put it out. But at the same time, it's important for you to know what data you have, what are the different columns, so you can kind of make sure when you're typing in your questions, your columns are following that same structure. So this is a fun feature. It uses natural language query, and Power BI always comes up with certain innovative features like this, which you can typically use. So this is a little bit about Power BI, right? The capability which Power BI brings about, the capability which Power BI has in terms of bringing up quick reports. And the next step obviously from here is to analyze this, kind of bring up any insights you see, anything funny, plot other reports as well from a customer perspective or product perspective, which we haven't done here, to kind of scale that to different parts of the data. Now, Power BI, as I said, is one of the visualization tools which you can essentially use to bring up reports. And Power BI is, at least the desktop version, is free to use. For enterprise users, it's still cheap, and it's quick. It's you see a leader in the Gartner quadrant for a certain reason. Now, similarly, let's look at an example. Let's look at the same example on Tableau and see what Tableau can do for us, and what are the different kind of functions in Tableau. How Tableau can essentially do some something similar like this. Okay, probably won't be exactly like this, but something similar in nature. Let's see how we can essentially do that. Right. Now, the Tableau interface looks, and one other thing, if you have any questions, you can put up on the chat. I will take up the questions, at the end, or I'll answer some of those questions as I'm speaking as well. So make sure you can just put up any of the questions you have, on the chat. Don't hesitate to do that, right? Okay. Then the Tableau interface looks something like this. Okay, when you start off with Tableau, Tableau says, okay, can you connect to a data source? How can I, where can I get the data from? So typically, Tableau can connect to a lot of sources as well. So let's say in this case, I want to connect to a text file, for example, and the text file is, what I've just showed you earlier. It's the same file. I'm going to get that into Tableau, and once you get into Tableau, Tableau identifies, okay, these are the different columns of my data. It shows that to you. You can see that it's correct. You can change certain things here if you want. If not, if you're satisfied, then you go and start visualizing. Now, the way Tableau works is a little different from how Power BI works. Okay, now, Power BI has one canvas on which you will basically visualize or put together all your visuals. Tableau, on the other hand, is something called worksheets. And every visual is one worksheet, right? So every visual is one worksheet on Tableau. And then at the end, you're going to put that all together in a dashboard. So once you have your data, you're going to go to the worksheet to start building your visuals, right? So when you click on a worksheet, it comes up something like this, where similar to Power BI, you have the right side as a white canvas. This is where you're going to, basically build your visual. On the left side is where you have your data, right? So, the left side is where you're going to start picking and placing your data from. Now, if you see, the data is being distributed into two different parts. You have a part which is represented as, blue color here, and you have a part which is represented as a green color here. So Tableau basically tries to understand, okay, which of those pieces of data are numbers, are values like sales and discount and profit, and segregates that and puts that under something called measures. And all the others, which are like country, category of product, which are non-numerical fields, are put into something called dimensions, which basically help you, visualize the data from a particular dimension. So Tableau is smart, and it can understand this, right? So in each of the tools, you could do calculations, right? So for example, in Power BI, you can add something called a calculated field, and a calculated field is where you put up your formula. So let's say you want to do profit percentage, you can put up the formula here. You can calculate that. In Power BI, you can just similarly do the same thing. So you create a new measure, and you can do the same thing there. You can just put up a formula, and it brings up profit percent. So in each of the tools, you can essentially do that. Right. Now let's say we want to do some of the same visuals here. Okay, we want to do the sales, the profit, sales by country, and so on and so forth. Some of the similar things. Now, similar to how you drag things in Power BI, you can drag your fields from your left-hand side, fields list into the canvas as well. So let's say we want to do total sales first. Okay, and now I can drag my sales into any place depending on where essentially I want to place it, or where essentially I want to see it. Let's say I just drag the total sales here, and it comes up as a number for me. So it says it's 12 million, sorry, 1.2 million, right? So it's 12 million actually. So $12,642,000 of sales. So the point is, it does come as a number, but you got enough formatted to kind of look a little bigger and so on. So similar to how you would kind of format it in Power BI, you can format it here as well. So you can right click the number or click the field and say format. It brings you to a format pane on the left hand side. Here you can choose, okay, I want my font to be size to be 12. I want it to be bold, for example, right? Or I want it to be 14 and I want it to be bold. So this looks, a little bigger on your face. And, similar to Power BI, you can add certain borders to this, but it's not very straightforward. You have got to select the borders for each and every item on Power BI, on Tableau. So you got to select if I want, borders on the rows, if I want borders on the columns, if I want borders for the title. And this could be confusing for some people at first. Right? It could be that some people don't understand where to put the borders in. Right? So for now, we're going to kind of just leave the borders, and we're not going to put that up for now. We can see some of those things later. Now, the sheet or the name of this particular visual is taken after the sheet name. So if you change the sheet name, you can essentially change the title as well. So let's say if this is total sales, change the name of the sheet, it changes the name of the title of the visual. Right? Now, this is one visual, and every worksheet can take in one visual, right? As I mentioned earlier. Now, unlike Power BI, where you can have everything onto one canvas, you have to build up visual one by one in Tableau to essentially, ultimately build a report. So if you want a new visual, you got to click a new worksheet, and the new worksheet is where you can start dragging in or creating the new visuals. Right? So let's say now I want total profit. I can get the total profit here and drag profit and rename the sheet to total profit. I can format this to kind of make it look similar. I can say the font size is 14 and so on. Right? Just get my spellings correct. Right. So now, is there a difference between the platforms? There is a difference between the platforms and things like non-GUI methods. Non-GUI methods are not meant to do things like quick BI or business intelligence or quick data visualization. Methods like Python would require you to do significant amount of coding in order to get to something like this. And for people who are not familiar with coding, they cannot get to something like this. So this is for targeted for people who are non-programmers, who want to do business intelligence. Python, on the other hand, can do different things. It can do visuals, yes, but they're not essentially meant only to do visuals, right? Now we talk about the strengths and weaknesses of both the tools. Once you have come to the report, of both of them, we'll stress a little bit about on that side. Let's see what we can build up on Tableau a little bit more, and then we'll try to get to some of those questions there. So let's say the next thing I want to do, similar to how I kind of put up on Power BI, I want to see, let's say, sales by country. Okay, I want to see sales by country, and in order to do that, I can essentially take my sales from my measures here. I can also drag it to any, if I want it across rows or columns, I can drag it somewhere into rows and columns as well, depending on how I want it. Else I can just drag it here, and then, later I can essentially move things around. Right? And let's say I want to see it by country, I can drag, again, let's say country into somewhere here. Now, depending on how you want to see it, you can move things around a little bit. So let's say I want to see the sales by different countries. I can move the sales up to the rows, and now it shows me the sales by different countries as a bar chart. Now, how do I change something like this? Now, on your top right hand corner, you have this text here called show me. Now, this show me is what allows you to change from one visual style to another visual style. So you can essentially change to something like this. You wouldn't do something like this. It's a bad visual, so please don't do that. So depending on what you want, you can essentially change the visuals from here. So let's say I want to do something like this. I can select a horizontal bar chart, and keep my visual like this, right? Now, depending on how you want to format, you can use these options here to format as well. So for example, you see this color, size, and so on. You could use that. So if you wanted, different colors on the bars, you could essentially choose that from here. Um, if you want the size of the bar to change, you can click on the size and you can change the size of the bar as well. Different people prefer to have it differently. So I'm going to keep it, let's say, somewhere in the greenish zone. Okay. This gives you your sales by country, and you can easily see, okay, different countries. When you hover over them, you can see a tooltip of the different countries. Let's say you want to add the labels for the sales, meaning you want to see the sales value, on the bar itself. You can also drag your sales into the labels. So it shows you, okay, these are the labels for the different bars, right? You can format the size and all of this of the labels itself. Um, you can say, okay, I want an 8 font size so that it's smaller, or I want a 7 font size, even smaller. So you can choose to format so that all the labels are seen. This is how you would do something on Tableau. So Tableau does not have a switch to on and off. Right? Tableau requires that you basically drag whatever you want to see to the respective place. So unlike Power BI, there's no on-off switch here for labels. Right? It tells you what do you want to see on the labels. Go put it there. That's one of the differences, right? Power BI is a little more intuitive and straightforward. Tableau requires you to have more knowledge of the tool before you can actually use it full-fledged. Now, let's say I want to build up a map view of my profit. Tableau has a map view as well. So if you want to do profit by country, you can essentially, let's say you drag your country here. And then since you want profit, you can essentially drag your profit. And you can say, okay, I want to have a map, right? And you click on the map, it brings up a beautiful map for you. You can say, I want my country and I want my profit to be in the labels also, so that you can see, okay, what the different countries are along with their profits. Again, formatting is something which you have to sit and do, right? So for everything, you can essentially change the size. You can make it smaller, bigger, depending on what you want to see. You can zoom in, zoom out of the visuals as well, similar to how you can do it on Tableau or Power BI. But one of the things about Tableau, which is different from Power BI, is that all the visuals, since they're on different worksheets, are not interactive with one another, meaning that you can't click something on this and expect the other to change. And that is something you have to manually set up on Tableau. So, once you learn Tableau in a little more depth, you would have to say, okay, if I click this visual, what should happen, right? One of the other ways, to kind of circumvent that and, make things a little bit easier is, let's say I want to do filter all my visuals by the country, for example. I can drag country into something called the filters area here. Okay. It says, okay, I want to be able to filter by all my countries. What I can do is I can say, that I can basically say how I want to apply this filter. So I can say, okay, when I choose something from this filter, I want to see all my different charts changing. So I can just select that value here, and that will then later show me, or we'll see later how when we change this, all the different charts can change. I'm going to hide certain things here, so I don't need the legend here on the side. I'm going to hide that. I want to see the filter, so I'm going to say show filter, and you can see a filter come up on your right hand side. I'm going to make this a drop down. So I'm going to say this is a single value drop down list, and you can choose from this list a particular country you want, and you will see that on your map it basically highlights that particular country. Now we'll see how this affects all my visuals when we get to the report. And let's create one last chart, which is, let's say, a pie chart of uh, sales by category. I'm going to take my category here. I'm going to take my sales here as well. And I'm going to say I want to see this in the form of a pie chart. Okay. Now you see that when I do a pie chart, it's very raw in nature. It's not, you know, very, very straightforward in terms of how it brings it up on Power BI. You'll have to put everything manually one by one. So if you want to see the labels, you have to put it manually. If you want to see the values, you have to put it up manually. So let's label each of these charts first. Let's say this is sales by category. And similarly, let's do it for the previous one as well, which is profit by country. So let's say in my sales by category, I want to see the category itself on the label. And I want to see the sum of sales on the label as well, right? So that I can, at least see some of those values, right? And I can say, okay, this is bold and whatnot. We'll see how to manipulate the sizes and stuff a little later on. It's not that straightforward, but we'll see. Okay. Now, this is how you would typically start bringing it up on Tableau, one visual at a time. And then let's say you want to put all of them up together. You can do that as well. Let me just hide some of the cards here which are not required. So in order to put all of them together, you're going to add something called a dashboard. So it's not a worksheet anymore, something called a dashboard. Now, a dashboard is the canvas where you're going to drop everything, right? So for example, you have all the different sheets you see created on your left-hand side. You can choose the size of your dashboard. Okay. I want to take a fixed size. Okay. And the fixed size I want to have is maybe a simple generic desktop size, so that I have a little bigger canvas to play around with. Now I can just, similar to how I did it on Power BI, now I can actually drag each of these onto my dashboard, right, in order to place them. So you have two kinds of placing. One is a tiled placing where it would automatically occupy a certain space. Another one is a floating spacing where you can actually choose what size you want and you can move things around easily. We're not going to get into details of that, but let's just try to drag each of them and see how essentially we can place them. So let's say I drag my total sales, place it up here at the top. I can drag my profit here, either above the sales. If I don't like it, I can drag it to the side of sales, below the sales, or something of that sort, depending on what I want. I can drag my sales by country, let's say here. I want to drag it below the sales, somewhere out here. Okay. Say I want a little bigger, I can make it a little bigger like this. Let's say I want my profit by country somewhere here, maybe, or something like this, depending on how I want to put it. Maybe I can place it somewhere here. Okay. Now I don't want my country to occupy so much of space, but okay, it's fine. Let it be here. I can bring this up a little bit so I have more space for this. And I can add my last sales by category, let's say somewhere here. And you can, kind of place this later on. I'm not going to go into how you can essentially arrange this, but you can go about arranging each one of these as and how you see fit. Okay, we'll get into the placing and all these things later. Now, this is how you would typically arrange it on your dashboard. Basically just moving things around, picking and placing. You'll have to spend a little more time placing it, because unlike Power BI is not so straightforward. You got to either place it as a tile view correctly, or you can make it a floating, and then you can arrange the sizes and so on. Now, all of these charts are not interactive, so I can't click on any of them and expect the others to change. They don't work like that on Tableau. But I can use this filter to basically now change, all my charts, because I had set up that the filter basically represent, or when I change my filter, all the charts should typically change, right? So this is how you can build up something on Tableau. Okay. Now I've spent the same amount of time on both of them, but you see the difference in terms of how the end result is on both of them for the same amount of time. Now, this is a stark difference in the sense that on Tableau, your learning curve is a little more. You would have to spend more time learning on how you can beautify, how you can place, how you can curate your dashboard more effectively. Um, and for Power BI, it's more straightforward. So a very novice user can use Power BI to create something very visually appealing in the same amount of time, right? So in terms of a comparison, both of them have good capabilities. Both of them have capabilities depending on how you want to learn, how much time you want to spend to learn, what your organization is using, um, and many other factors. Tableau is a little more expensive. It's about 5 times more expensive than Power BI to use. Um, both of them can draw data from websites, or you can publish them onto a server or something called Tableau Public or Power BI in a service, which is basically you visualizing it online, and you can share that with other people and so on. Right. So this is how you would typically build up your data visuals and then start analyzing them on both the different kind of tools. Right. So I've shown you a glimpse of how you can do similar things in the same amount of time on Power BI and Tableau. So let's get back to the presentation. Let's kind of finish that up, and then we'll open it up for any questions. So me and Pranjal can take up any questions, at the end of that. Right, so let's quickly get back to the presentation and kind of just conclude from there. So the idea basically was to show you that when you compare the two tools, the same amount of time can give you different results. It doesn't mean one tool is bad and the other one is good. It just means one tool is easier to use. The other tool requires a little more learning, a little more time to implement the same thing. Right? In terms of how it looks, I mean, they look good. I mean, both of them look good. Tableau has been told, or it has been said that Tableau, for most of the people, has a better looking visualization than Power BI. But each of them have their own pros and cons. Right? In terms of weaknesses, if I want to talk about, as I said, Tableau requires, it's not a weakness, but Tableau requires more learning as compared to Power BI. You need to understand a little bit more about the controls, about how you can build up the dashboard. Whereas in Power BI, it's a little more intuitive. In a day, you can actually build up something like this in 20 minutes the next time you do it. Now, we've seen all of this. Now let's get into a little more about, from an academic standpoint or from a career standpoint, how do you choose what do you want to become and who uses these tools? So typically you have 3 buckets of people who use these tools: analysts, scientists, and people in the business. Right? Now, how you decide where you want to fit in is dependent on the scope of what you want to do. So for a typical analyst, an analyst is basically going to understand the data. He's going to visualize the data. He's going to convey insights to the managers. Now, this could be a data analyst. This could be a business analyst. A business analyst sits more closely with the business, so he understands the business much more as compared to a data analyst who primarily works on the data. A data scientist, on the other hand, does a little bit more. So data scientists then go on to use the data to do predictions, forecasts, do some machine learning, use programming to supplement the data and what insights can be drawn out of the data and so on. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day, what kind of role you're fitting into. It depends on your interest. It depends on what you want to do. And if you want to do more of visuals and more of tools like Power BI, you're going to sit on an analyst position. If you want to do more of Power BI and Python, that's where you're going to be in a data scientist position. Right? So it kind of depends on the scope of work. So how can we come in and help you at the end of the day? Well, we have 2 career roadmaps which we put out. One on the data science side, which is for those who love programming. One on the analytics side for those who love non-programming tools like Tableau, Power BI, and Excel, which is what we demonstrated today. to show you essentially how each of these tools can, bring about its own power. Um, Now, what do we do typically in our programs is that we ensure that we have a lot of practical learning. That's how even I can build up something in 20 minutes. A year back I couldn't. I kind of understood how this works. You know, Pranjal taught me the Power BI tool, and then I could essentially pick that up and kind of do that. Secondly, as instructors, we spend a lot of time with our participants, and we give a lot of personal time because we know that everybody has their own queries and so on. Whatever we show you or build up or teach is basically based on industry content and what the industry demands at this point in time. And the use cases we take are very industry relevant. So you would see healthcare, manufacturing, banking, sales, marketing, and so on. And also we for those selected students, we provide a lot of internship opportunities, come in, work on real projects and cases with us, right? And we have worked with a lot of people over time. Just to give you a little bit of picture, we worked with academics, we worked with corporates. We have a lot of experience working on both these fronts. Um, Pre-COVID-19 photographs, some of this since then we've transitioned online like today, but some of the glimpses of what we do are right there. So that's all from me and Pranjal at this point in time. I'm going to open the next 15 minutes to any questions. Anything you may have from the tools perspective, from the careers perspective, um, from the perspective of anything. It could be generic or so on. But I'd like to thank again, once again, all the participants, the management team at A.P.U also for organizing this. And me and Pranjal are open up to any questions now. Yeah. So go ahead, post your questions up on the chat. We'll start taking up those questions. We can answer some of them, as we see them come in. Okay, Pranjal, you want to take that one up? The question of how important is the master's degree?
Yeah, sure. So okay, so it's again, it depends on what is your final objective. It doesn't matter really that if you have done the master's degree or not, but the main point is usually in our course curriculum, the Tableau or the Power BI or any data visualization things, it is included only in the master's degree. So but even if you are doing just bachelor's and you have that capability, if you have prior experience, I think in industry that matters rather than having just a degree of masters. So I would say if you are done, or if you want to go into data scientist, better check the relevant course curriculum. And definitely it's always good to go into masters when you do more extensive things there, but that's not mandatory, I would say, for the industries. Yes, I hope it's clear. Okay, Hannah. So, okay, if you ask how crucial is it for us to actually learn all these tools, so the thing is again, it again, just as Aditya mentioned, it depends on the industry, your company, what they are using, right? Suppose it's not necessary that you need to learn all the tools, but suppose if you are working in some company and they use Tableau, then you need to know Tableau, right? If someone is using Power BI, then you need to do that, learn that. The idea, the concept behind is the way how we think. The data is might be different, but the way how to do the analytics is the same. It's just a different tool to represent something, right? Just example, uh, you need to basically think in that analytical approach, right? You need to have that thing. So that is more important. But yeah, if you learn all, it's always good. Okay, is then why most of the people still prefer Python, a non-GUI analytic, although there are GUI platform like Power BI. Okay, so there are again some limitations. Just as Adi mentioned earlier, also Python is best for the programmers, for the coder. So if they are used to it, they will find it definitely useful to do that. So they can customize the things accordingly. Here in your GUI platform like Power BI, what we have is a lot of things are already there, but it's morely on tool based. So some people usually they don't like the tool based, rather they want to do their own hands on, and they want to do something else, something new, try something new. So that is why they prefer. But if you really ask most of the people who don't like programmers, they will go for the Power BI or Tableau or any other tools. Uh, Huying, is it possible to be a data scientist if I am only specializing in data analytics? Okay, it again depends. Data scientist means, if you really talk about the core data science, they actually, the data scientist works more, they create new algorithms, the machine learning algorithm that is required. While in a data analytics part, that's more on just the data and the visualization, analyzing the data. So they will not create something new. So I wouldn't say, I mean, it's not possible, but definitely you need to, if you are specializing in data analytics, then also you need to learn the basics, the fundamentals, and even the core of the machine learning algorithms. And also that is something that you need to learn. Definitely you can be data scientist once you have those skill sets. What ability could define a good analyst? It's just how you are visualizing the data, what is your approach based on that. Good analyst, see, everyone do analysis, right? It just depends to what extent they do. Data is same, it's just how you are analyzing, how you are, what insights that you are getting, and how you are implementing it. So based on the practice, based on the experience, based on the work in different industries, uh, it will be very easy to to gauge the things, to see what's hidden inside the data. And that's how you will do it. So it's not a something that can be done in a day. It's just it improves based on the experience, based on the time. Okay, Ashwin Devi, how much are your okay? So that's, you can decide with the college, your college management. We will you can directly contact them for the courses and all, whenever we will do. Jonathan, any open source alternative tools if cost is a concern? So as Aditya mentioned, you can always use Power BI desktop for that. Uh, for your, if you want to really learn. If you want the enterprise edition, usually companies buys that. So I don't think for your learning, its cost should be any factor, because Power BI desktop, it's free, you can use it. It comes with your Microsoft Office 365 as well. And other open source, I think that should be enough if you want to use that. Okay, Adi, you want to take this? Power BI Tableau be implemented into website? What you
Yeah.
have?
So as I mentioned earlier, you when once you build up your report or dashboard, you can publish that to you know the Power BI service or Tableau Public, which is essentially their website version of your dashboard. Or and once you do that, you get a collaboration link. You can take that link, put it up on any website. It could be your blog, it could be your college websites, it could be anywhere you want. You can just embed that as an iframe link into the HTML of your website. You can also draw data from websites. So each of these tools have the ability to draw data from the web. So if you can use it to draw data from an API or from a website which offers you a table or so on. So yes, it has that ability as well. And for Jonathan, open source alternative tools, start off with the desktop version, as Pranjal said. You have other tools like MicroStrategy and Click. Uh, but they become more difficult to learn. Um, Python is definitely open source, but again, you won't get a GUI. You need to go code based. You won't get a GUI to essentially build up these things. It's kind of not very visually appealing as some of these tools. So the reason between Python and people going into tools like this for visualization is the first of all the speed, ease of use, and secondly also the fact that it's not code based. It's not driven by code. It's driven by drag and drop methodology, and that's what basically this is all about. For data engineers, what tools and knowledge would they need to leverage on? Data engineers, typically you're going to be working with SQL, and you should know how to write SQL queries. You should know how to essentially draw data from different sources. So it could be SQL, it could be Excel files, text files. So you should know a little bit of coding, either in SQL or Python, to be able to kind of draw data from different sources. You should know how a data pipeline works. So essentially, how if I draw data from 5 different sources, how do I join them together? How do I send it to an analyst to visualize? So in terms of tools, it's very organization based. SQL is the base for all the tools. You should know some SQL. You should know some automation, like Python or VBA kind of tools as well. So it's easy for you to pick up as you go ahead. Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, cool. So if you have any other questions, do put it up on the chat. What are the main features we'll cover in the MS Excel workshop? Um, so in Excel workshop, there are multiple levels which we'll be touching upon. So you will start off with basic, or there would be some touching upon basic things like functions and formulas, uh, tables, how you can scale it up to do some data cleaning with things like Power Query, um, how you can build up a report and dashboard within Excel, how do you connect different data sources, build up a data model. So depending on what level of the Excel we want to cover, we have a few of these things basically, but we're going to be following the data life cycle, right? How do you get in data from different sources? How do you build up a data model? How do you use functions, formulas, tables, Power Query to clean the data? How do you visualize it on a report or dashboard using some of those features there? And how do you connect, make it interactive? So these are some of the things we'll be looking at on a high level. Okay, is there any other questions from any of you? In terms of predictive analytics, can these UI platforms compete with platforms like Python or Rust? Now, the best part about all these platforms is you can actually write Python code within these platforms, so you don't need to compete. That's the beauty of these things, right? In Power BI, you can actually write Python code. If you want to bring up some customized visualization which Power BI doesn't have, or you want to do predictive analytics and bring up a visual, you can do everything within the tool. So you don't need to essentially compete at all. The best part about it is open source gels well along with all these tools. What trade are you using for Rust? Uh, Assuming that question is for Sarah. I mean, Rust has many different traits you can use. You can have plotlib, you can have forma. If you're looking at tools like Dash, you can have Pro Dash and stuff like that. So there are a lot of different traits you can use on Rust. So I guess that's all the questions we have on the chat as well, and I hope we've covered most of the questions or all of the questions. Um, so I guess with that again, I'd like to thank all of you for coming down and hearing us out. The management team at A.P.U for organizing this, allowing us to share our knowledge with all of you. Be in touch with them, to get more information. They'll be, getting in touch with you around how we can, bring up some of these full-fledged workshops. So all our details are there on the screen for you in case you want to connect with us on any of these platforms, or you can connect to your management team. So that's all from us, and have a good day ahead, and spend some time thinking about these different tools and how you can essentially use some of this, right? So there are some links from your organizers on the chat, so make sure you fill up some of those feedback links, and enjoy the rest of your day.